Okay, this is my first update on the Buddy Build HST M4 with my friend Jens from Germany. This one is going to be primarily a bit of a rant because I've been working on it for a bit and I have run into some serious issues, and if you're going to buy this kit, these are probably issues you should know about. I'm going to go through it step by step and outline briefly what some of them are that I have run across. Okay, in step number one, there are these two little PE grills, PE15, and they go in these the holes here on F41. Then it shows you taking parts B14 and gluing them right over the top of them. Just flat straight down it shows them, not open, which seems to be a waste of the parts. I left mine open so that I could see the grading. Okay, step two weren't no issues with it that I had. Okay, so now we're going to get to step three. In step three, you install these pedals. They're PE pedals, and they're V-shaped with a small tab on them. The instructions call for it to be bent, the little tab to be bent, but it doesn't tell you which direction. I inadvertently bent mine towards the front of the vehicle. After doing some research, I found out it was supposed to be bent towards the inside of the vehicle. It was easy enough fixed, didn't damage it. So I'm guessing the little tab there so your foot doesn't slip off the pedal. That's something you need to pay attention to. Bend it in, not out. Also, here in step three, you're going to have to thin out this front seat in this area here, because it does not fit over the housing for the shifter. You're going to end up with the seat setting at an angle if you do not thin that out. Alright, let me see. Oh, okay, on the cable. They have you putting the cable all together and they show you making a loop on the end of it. Don't do that now. It'll bite you in the ass later. Just let it hang out open. Step four, start the engine. No big deal. Nice and easy. Step five, however, in the engine's construction here, it has you installing part B9, what looks to be at a 90-degree angle to the engine, and then part C2 over top of it, serpentine belt over the top of it. There are no registration marks, so if you just glue it in at a set angle, you're going to be out of luck later. What I found is if you glue the bottom of the C2 to the block, it traps the B9 piece between the pin on this and the pin on this and allows you to swing up and down, which will come in handy later. Okay, also you have a mystery part here. The mystery part on the diagram sits here in this circle. It looks to be a starter motor that might be attached to the back of the engine. It's not. It actually is supposed to attach to the fan belt B9, and but there's no arrow drawn to it and there's no part number on it. So you have to make sure you check on that when you do that. Alright, let's see. Step 7 is the next one. 6 wasn't an issue. Step 7, yes, step 7. The mystery part. It shows up right here, and after doing some research online, it's part B19. They don't tell you anywhere beforehand that it needs to go on the engine at the front right there. There's a pin for it. There's a locator pin on it. But if you're just following the steps, when you get all done, you're going to have part B19 left over. So you have to be careful of that. Here is the way the fan belt and generator sit. There's a little pin underneath here that'll fit on. Alright. Let me think here. Okay, step 8 was okay. Step 9 is Okay, step 9 is going to be a bit of a bigger one. The dashboard, C16, is nicely detailed. It's got plenty of raised bezel rings and so on and so forth. It's just really nice. Trouble is, the decal that goes on it is flat, and there's no amount of solver set in the world that will allow the decal to conform to this. You can buy aftermarket sets if you'd like. Archer makes a fine one. My friend Jens is putting Archers on his. I just opted to cut each decal out individually and put them in one at a time. A little time consuming, but if you put a little drop of solver set inside each ring, when you put the piece in, it conforms nicely to it, and you get a nice finish when you're all done. Also here it shows you attaching the centerpiece that you created in step 8. I found that if you try to glue it to the sides, the little locator pins, you have trouble getting to go in between the seats. So I recommend you just glue it to the top here and not try to glue it to the sides. It allows some swivel. Oh yeah, there are a ton of injector pin marks on this thing. I mean, just an incredible amount of bad injector pin marks on this piece here that are highly visible. You're going to have to fill and sand to get rid of them. That's going to be one of your biggest issues with the whole kit, are injector pin marks. Okay, last thing in step 9, the PE parts listed here. It shows that you have 2 options. I'm assuming one open, one closed. You want parts PE1 and PE11 or PE12. But it doesn't explain to you how to put them together, so you're kind of on your own about that. I did find that there are, or appear to be, styrene parts on the sprue to replace these, or at least that's what they look like to me, and that's what I'll be doing with mine. Okay, the last thing for 9 is here, this PE part number 9. It's the brush guard for the headlights, and what they don't tell you is they do provide a jig for forming them, so you not have to try to bend them with a pair of pliers, because they are very small and delicate. Alright, let's move on. Excuse me. To step number 10, the Pioneer tools. Pardon me. In step 10, you have the shovel. The hammer was already put on. They want you to attach the extra track links. I thought they didn't have enough detail, so I left mine off. I just scratch built the brackets for it and left it blank. Shovels are identical pieces, but they sit the same way, so it's not a problem. Then they want you to put the axes on, along with the 50 caliber mount and the pickaxe heads. The axes are right and left. There are different part numbers for them, and they fit facing with the axe heads towards the outside of the vehicle. That's all well and good until you get to step 11. You have more mystery parts. In that, the handles for the pickaxe heads. It doesn't tell you when to put them on. It doesn't give you the part number. They just show up here. Now, these are both on the A sprue. They're identical, which means the little capture point on the end is facing the same way on both of them. I didn't notice that until after I'd had mine painted and glued on. So now I have one that's pointing towards the outside of the vehicle and one that's pointing towards the inside of the vehicle. If you want them both facing the same way, it's not a hard fix. All you have to do is shave off the little pins, flip it over, because they're identical on both sides, other than the pins. Not a problem, easy fix. But you have to catch it. If you don't catch it, then it looks I think it looks kind of odd now that I've seen it and I'm looking at it. It just annoys me. Okay, step 12, pretty straightforward, not a problem. Step 13, oh yeah. Step 13 is the box primarily for the ammo. This is where you're constructing the ammo box for the back of the vehicle. The kit comes with 2 complete sets of inside components. It doesn't tell you which one to use for which. This can be configured for either the 155mm or the 8.5 inch gun, and I'm going to assume that one of these is for the 8.5 and the other is for the 155. After looking at it for a while, I discovered that the only real difference is the number of holes in the brackets. The one with the larger number of holes, or smaller number of holes, the bottom piece is just littered with injector pin marks, and they're where you can see them, and they're in a place you can't fix them. So I opted for the one with the more holes, and I'm assuming it's the 155. It's just very annoying that, you know, again, they don't tell you which is which. They just say, well, you can do this or that. But if you're building a specific artillery piece, you'll want to make sure that you have the correct configuration for the ammo boxes. Alright, that was step 13. Now, step 14. Okay, step 14 is the chain fall. That is a really big issue here. I was lucky enough that I've used a lot of chain falls. I know what they are, I know how they work, and I had a basic idea of how they are configured. The long chain goes around the end with the little loops, these here, and they are what operate the mechanical or mechanisms inside that raise and lower the chain here. One end of this chain is locked in between in a pin, and the other one loops down and goes around an interior gear. Now, they don't tell you that, and if you're building this, you really need to go and find a picture of a chain fall on Google and study it before you put it together. You're also going to find that the channel that they leave inside for you is too small for the chain. So what I ended up doing was cutting the chain and pinning it and super gluing it in place so that it looks correct. But it doesn't go all the way around inside. It's simply on the outside. Also, you're going to have to figure out a way to hook the hook to the chain. I opted for some very thin wire and wrapped it around a few times and painted it. It resembles enough of a shackle that you can get away with it. You might have a more elegant solution that's works too. Okay, now 15. 15 is where I said you're going to get a bite in the ass if you loop the cable on the earlier step, because here they have you installing part B16, which is the hook that goes to the cable. If you've already made the loop end on it and got it all situated into the right length, now you're going to have to try to cut that loop open to install part B16. And that's just ludicrous. Now, it is correct. I found a photograph where it shows that, yes, they just run the cable through the hook and then use cable clamps to hold it in place. I went with a little different solution. I made the end look like it would be for a tow cable with a little metal piece inside and then a clamp around the outside. And then I built a shackle that I then hooked to a short length of chain. And I hooked this to another shackle on the other length of the chain and just drooped it underneath and hooked it to the other shackle on the back of the vehicle. I think it looks a little better than the cable and hook just hanging out the end. And that's it for my first update. The next update should be a complete build, and with slides and so on and so forth, and solutions, and as things go along. Okay, thanks for watching.